Hi and welcome, this is David Guest. Today we're going to be talking about how you can use DISC behavioural profiles to improve your communication skills and improve your sales skills. Because one of the things we don't often talk about with sales, we talk about technique, we talk about closing technique, but we don't really focus in on our ability to build rapport quickly, our ability to communicate well, and our ability to empathise or understand or even communicate at the level of our client. So let's quickly talk about DISC profiling and why it's such a good sales tool. Look, primarily there's lots and lots of behavioural profiling products out there. But what I've found is that some are so complicated that you can do your own profile and read your own personality, but that's not necessarily going to help you in sales. What you want is a tool that you can use to actually make an assessment of the person that you're talking to so that you can quickly adapt your communication style to suit that person's behavioural profile. So let's quickly have a look at how DISC works. It's very straightforward. If we look at this window over here, we look at people's personalities based on the 4 parameters. They're either outwardly focused or extroverted, or they're inwardly focused or introverted. And then across the other plane, we're looking at whether they've got a preference to being people-oriented or task-oriented. So just so you understand how this fits, if we look at the D personality, this profile up in the top left-hand corner, this is an outwardly focused task person. So D stands for dominant and is predominantly a person who's a bottom line thinker. They're thinking about things all the time and they're forward. They're not backward in telling you what they're thinking about. So you'll probably know someone like this, but your D personality is someone who says, just get to the bottom line, cut to the chase. Don't give me all this waffle. Don't talk to me about your weekend. Just tell me whether you can do the job or not. Now, obviously, when dealing with this type of personality, we have to be very upfront, prepared, organised, and be prepared to close a sale on the spot. Now, if we keep going around, we'll notice there's 2 extroverted personalities. There's the D, and then there's the I, which stands for influencer. Now, I is outwardly focused, but instead of task orientation, they're people oriented. So the I stands for influencer. The I personality is the sort of person that actually loves to talk a lot, and their favourite person on the planet is themselves. Now, the big thing about the I personality is that they're very gregarious, they love to talk, they love to communicate, they love to tell stories. They're usually the person you meet around the water cooler or the coffee machine in the office. And when we're discussing or having a conversation with an I personality, the most important thing to them is themselves. So we need to make sure that they get the chance to express themselves. Now, the other thing with the I personality is that they do like to have a conversation and they do like to get into the social side of things. So they are the kind of person that wants to talk about their weekend, and they are the kind of person that wants to find out a bit more about you and whether they like you before they make a purchase decision. So you can see that these 2 outwardly focused personalities, it is quite key to actually be able to adapt to those. Also note that these guys up here are generally good at buying very quickly. They have a very short sales cycle. So now as we move down to the inwardly focused personality types, we've got the S personality, which is the people-focused inward introverted person. S stands for stable. Now, a stable personality is someone who basically is very people-oriented, but rather than talking about themselves all the time, they're interested in their team. Now, in Australia, about 50% of our population would be S personalities. They're usually the glue that holds the team together. So in this sales environment, what we're looking at is the S personality is generally fairly quiet because they're inwardly focused. They're people-oriented, so they're more concerned about the people around them than they are about themselves. So in the sales environment, if we notice that someone is an S personality, what I'll tell you about these guys is they don't like change, right? They're slow to make a decision as opposed to these guys up here. They like to see things in a planned out, step-by-step approach. So with the S personality, we need to make sure that we don't scare them away with big numbers and exciting things. What they want to see is there a plan? Is there a step-by-step process to follow? And if we can give them that, then they actually will open up to the sales process. Now, if we look at the C personality, which is inwardly focused but task-oriented, so these guys don't have the people skills of the S's and the I's. These guys are very analytical. Now, what that means is that they're not going to make a sales decision on the day either. What they're going to do is they're going to read every piece of material they can, they're going to look at the graphs, look at the specs, and they're going to analyse and decide for themselves based on their own judgment whether they will proceed with the sale or not. Now, the reason I point these 4 out is it's very, very important that you understand who you're dealing with so that you can adapt your style to suit. Because trying to pressure sell a C or an S will actually result in breaking rapport and no sale. Taking it slowly with a D and an I will usually result in no sale. So what we need to do is become very, very good at assessing in an instant the personality profile that we're dealing with and then adapting our sales process or our communication style to suit that profile. So what I'm going to suggest you do is you're going to start thinking about the people that you're communicating with right now. Now, the easiest way to understand what profile they are is ask a couple of questions. Now, the first one is, are they forward or are they backward in communicating? Because the D's and the I's are outwardly focused, so they're generally going to tell you how they see things, or they're going to be very quick to tell you what's going on. With the C's and the S's, it's going to be a bit more like extracting teeth. You're going to have to really work hard on building the communication and building the conversation. Now, when people do talk to you, the next thing you need to determine is, are they people or task oriented? Now, the people oriented person will usually talk about people, themselves, the people around them, the people they know, their family. The task-oriented people will usually talk about things. So that will be achievements, that'll be activities that they potentially do, or they might be experts at something, so they'll talk about things as opposed to people. What I'd like you to do is download the People Reading Guide, which will give you the clues to understand how to read these people, and start really focusing in on what is the personality types of the people I'm communicating with, and you watch how your sales will go through the roof. Thanks for listening.